Yesterday, I saw a plastic bag blowing in the wind. Surprisingly, my first thoughts were not of wildlife harm or anger toward litter bugs. In fact, in place of any type of anger, I felt a sense of nostalgia. Why nostalgia, you may ask? Because it brought me back to a time when I was a child, not just a single core memory, but a string of core memories. I grew up poor. I lived in what we called the projects. I'm not sure if they call it that anymore, but that's what we called it at the time. But basically, low-income housing. The layout was a bunch of brick duplexes in a circle. Within the circle was a patch of land, and on that land, myself and the other kids of the neighborhood would often go out to play. We didn't have the newest toys or even the oldest toys. We relied on our imagination, but some days, imagination just wouldn't cut it. On those days, I'd find myself sitting on the porch, staring out at the empty plot of land between us, a child on each porch doing the same, when all of a sudden, down from the heavens dropped a floating plastic bag. The wind would pick it up and put it down, blow it left and blow it right, as if the bag itself was inviting us out into this patch of land, and we would accept the call. I'd run off my porch, I'd see the other kids doing the same, and we would jump and run and chase this inanimate object blowing through the sky. Other kids had a hover disc. We had a plastic fucking bag. Eventually, one of the kids would catch the bag and we would all cheer. They would then, of course, shake the bag and let it fill with wind and allow it to be blown back into the sky for the game to begin again. Back in the present, sitting in my car at a red light, I watched this plastic bag dance in the wind, the warmth of nostalgia settling over me, but I couldn't help but wonder why it felt so comforting. After all, it's not like things were great. My parents were divorced and I wanted them together. My teeth hurt because we couldn't afford to go to the dentist. I sometimes replaced meals with a can of soda in hopes that the carbonation would keep me full. Today I have a good job with a steady paycheck, a beautiful wife and a home, the very car I'm sitting in. Why the hell am I nostalgic when from an outside perspective you can see my life is better now than it was then? That's the horror of nostalgia. The simplicity of childhood versus the complexities of adult life causes us to view the past through a filter of emotional warmth. There's a reason why when we're children we say we can't wait to be adults, but once we're adults we long for the days of childhood. Because as a child we are aware of the negative moments, but as we grow older we tend to remember the good moments more vividly while minimizing the negative ones. The passage of time also creates a sense of longing for what is gone. With everything that I have today, there is an equal amount that I've lost. There are people that I've lost to death, and there are people that I've lost to mental illness. And back then, they were either still here, or they were still themselves. And we watched Drake and Josh, and we watched Viva La Bam, so you bet your ass 31-year-old me is going to spend my hard-earned cash to go to something called Nostalgia Con and meet these older versions of the characters that remind me of the ones I've lost. And meeting these actors is transporting me back to that time when all I needed was a plastic bag in the wind. It is well known that nostalgia is popular right now, which is why it must be used to make a quick buck. A buck that I pay happily. And it's not just Nostalgia Con. It's why we see movie remake after movie remake. It's why we see TV shows from the past being rebooted for new streaming services. It's why we see brands like Emo's Not Dead and a resurgence of music from the past. It's my very reason for starting a horror-based channel. Horror itself is nostalgic to me. To experience excitement, fear, lust, shock, all while bonding with friends or family in your formative years, well, it has an effect on you. In the early days of this channel, my wife and I made horror-themed weather updates, and you may ask yourself, what does horror and weather have to do with each other? And the answer is that even weather segments are nostalgic to me. I don't get my news or weather from a TV program anymore. Everything's an app. So memories of news programming playing constantly in the background is nostalgic to me. Today we have white noise machines, but in the past we had white noise. I even fancy watching 8-hour YouTube videos titled Vintage Oldies Playing in Another Room and It's Raining. I'll pay for YouTube Premium to watch 30 minutes of 2000s ads because God forbid I be interrupted by an ad. But perhaps it's emotional bias that makes the past seem better than it was, providing a sense of relief from present day stresses. Perhaps that's the horror of nostalgia. It's a highlight reel of your past, and it's the proof that you never know what you have until it's gone. It's cliche and beautiful all at the same time. Despite the comforting pull of nostalgia, which causes me to say that all I needed was a plastic bag in the wind, that's not actually the truth. It's the good memories of those I love that surround that plastic bag. The plastic bag is just the object associated with the memory of good times that I've lost, as is nostalgia as a whole. Perhaps our goal should be to remember what the cause of our nostalgia actually is. So in another 30 years, we can say, wow, I remember when all I needed was love.
Today's episode is brought to you by Crystal Meth Seltzers. Our 100% alcohol-free Crystal Meth Seltzers are guaranteed to get you through dry January. Have you ever wanted to feel like you're on crystal meth but without having to actually do it? Just drink our Crystal Meth Seltzer. Now available at